Hi, Jason.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Beautiful sunshine out today.
It is much nicer.
Yes.
Live streaming right now, and then we'll tell Anita to call the meeting to order.
Hello, everybody. Many of you are in the room together. That's nice. Sorry I can't be there, but I will call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Okay, I see none. So we will go along with C, adoption of minutes. Could I get two of you to adopt the minutes, please?
Terry.
Thank you, Councilor Burns and Cynthia. Thank you. Okay. D, items for consideration. 2022 year-end accessibility report. And I will pass that along to Angela. I think I can't see very well here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. So Linda is away, so I'll be presenting this report on her behalf. So what we have before us is the 2022 annual year-end accessibility status report. So Ontario Regulation 191.11, Section 4 requires that each designated public sector organization, which we are, must establish, implement, and maintain a document called a multi-year accessibility plan, which outlines the organization's strategy to prevent and remove barriers and to meet its requirements under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. Under the same regulation, it's required that an annual status report be brought forward to kind of outline the progress of the measures taken to implement the strategy as a whole. So the Town of LaSalle's 2023 to 2027 multi-year accessibility plan was adopted by the previous term of the Accessibility Advisory Committee on June 29th, 2022. And it's a working document that outlines future initiatives and strategies to help identify, prevent, and remove barriers for persons with disabilities. This report is intended to provide information to the public, members of council, and employees on the progress made to date in the areas of customer service, employment, information, communication, transportation, and the design of our public spaces, so anything that is run by the municipality. Accessibility planning, also includes accessibility planning, and the things that we do and that are contained within this multi-year accessibility plan are both legislated and non-legislated actions. The summary details the AODA requirements that guide the Town of LaSalle's day-to-day operations, included but not limited to accessible customer service, accessibility policies, procurement, training, accessibility feedback, a website that conforms to web content accessibility guidelines, employment standards, accessible formats, and communication supports that are provided if asked for, compliance monitoring and reporting, and actually most recently the 2022 municipal election and the initiatives that we took to make sure that the election was accessible. Now you'll see if you've read the agenda in the report that under each of those areas we have specifically highlighted the initiatives that have been taken. So my plan was not to read any of them, but if you have questions with respect to what's included under them, I can kind of go through some of the initiatives that we have taken and that we plan on taking going forward.
Thank you, Angela. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, I see no questions. So we will move along to number 2, update on accessibility measures for the 2023 LaSalle Strawberry Festival. And I will
So
pass that.
sorry. Councilor Riccio Spagnolo, can I have a motion to receive that report?
Oh, yes, my apologies. Can I get a
No
motion
worries.
to receive this report, please? Councillor Burns and Jason, thank you. Okay, so number 2, update on accessibility measures for the 2023 LaSalle Strawberry Festival. And I will pass this along to Owen and Scott.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. So this report is I guess it was brought forward. I was able to attend the Accessibility Advisory Committee last year, and the previous iteration of the committee had some feedback regarding the Strawberry Festival. So we thought it would be a good idea to bring a report ahead of the Strawberry Festival just to share what we are working on from an accessibility standpoint for the festival, and to follow up on some of the feedback that was brought forward after last year's festival. So the festival will run from Thursday, June 8th into Sunday, June 11th. There is a typo in the report that says June 12th, but it would be Sunday, June 11th. And then actually we will also have on Wednesday, June 7th, the Strawberry Cleaning event. And this year it will be at the event center for the first time. And we're looking forward to having that. In looking at the Strawberry Festival, we used the Ontario Guide to Accessible Festivals and Outdoor Events as a sort of a framework to go through and make sure that we were looking at all of the various topics that they outline for events to consider when planning an event. So the first category was accessible parking spaces. So the event takes place at the Ballmer Center in lots 2 and 3. Which is the lot adjacent to the Ring B entrance and then across the street. And then Mike Ramian Drive is closed for safety reasons. So the lots closest to the festival grounds are lot 1, which is the main lot, and lot 4, which is closer to Sandwich High School. So those 2 lots have accessible parking spaces just as part of the regular parking layout in those lots. So parking lot 1 has 18 accessible parking spaces, and lot 4 has 10. And those are the closest lots to gates 1 and 2 on either side of the festival. So in total, there'll be 20 accessible spaces between those 2 lots. Owen has informed me in years past, we have added temporary spaces in lot 1 as well, if necessary. So we can certainly look at doing that again. And then in lot 6 and 7, there are some additional accessible spaces as well. Those would be the lots closest to the soccer and baseball. So that brings the total to 36 total accessible parking spaces. Should be noted though, however, lots 6 and 7 are gravel at the back of the facility. They're not asphalt like lot 1 and 4. The next category from the guide, the Ontario Guide, was public transportation. We do have the Transit Windsor bus service that normally operates throughout the town and goes right in front of the Walmart and the roundabout, and that will continue to operate during the festival. So it will enter the property via Mike Raymond and drop off and pick up passengers in the bus loop in front of the facility. And that is extremely close to gate 1. So anyone who's choosing to use transit will have a very short distance to travel to gate 1. There is also additional transit service that will run on Friday, June 9th for the fireworks, which is traditionally what happens each year. And we will make sure that we update the bus arrival and departure times on the website for the Strawberry Festival, and link to that when we get a little bit closer to the festival. The next category that we took a look at was paths of travel. And this would have been one particular issue that was brought forward by the committee last year. We have, in some areas, in lot 3, we're very fortunate to have some power and water that was added a few years back to help with the vendors in that lot. But there are some electrical lines that have to run across the pathways, and we had those covered. And feedback from the committee last year was that we look at sort of an improvement. Owen has sourced some cable covers That will be much better to handle any of those passive travel and make it easier for people with mobility issues to make it across those areas. So those will be added, and additionally, we look to have 30-foot aisles throughout the festival grounds, just to provide ample room for people to make their way through. The next area was stages and seating. So we do have a main tent stage area in parking lot 3 that will host the live musical performance. This area is completely on asphalt, and the entrances and exits will be accessible. There is a trampoline show this year. So last year was a high dive show. This year will be a trampoline show, and that's going to take place on a grassed area right next to parking lot 3. However, there is a concrete path to access the show. And so for those with mobility issues, they will be able to gain access to watch the show entirely using the asphalt path and not have to traverse any grassed areas. Food service and public eating areas. So within lot 3, we'll have approximately 30 food vendors on site, as was last year, and we will have picnic tables for attendees to sit and eat. As was the case last year, we will have accessible picnic tables that are ordered and available for use. The difference for this year is we're going to make sure that we label those tables with stickers or decals that identify those tables as accessible picnic tables so that it's easy for people to identify. We are also working on a festival grounds map, something that's very user-friendly, customer-friendly for people coming to the festival, and any accessible features will be outlined on the map as well. That will be available online, and then certainly at the festival, we're planning on having some larger versions that show people the layout of the property. Washrooms and temporary toilets. So portable washroom units will be available during the festival, and they'll be located between lot 2 and 3 on the section of Mike Raymond Drive that's closed. There will be 3 accessible portable washroom units in that location, which was the case last year. And again, we'll make sure that those are identified on the map that will be available online and on site as well. Rest areas and quiet spaces. So this was some feedback that we got last year, and this year we are going to plan on having an area that is a rest area quiet space that can be used by members of the public. Those who maybe have sensory issues or nursing mothers, things of that nature. So we're going to have a tent area that'll be identified and available for people to use, and again, we'll highlight that on the map. The next category from the guide was rain, wind, sun shelters. Parking lot 3, we have a large 60 by 100 tent that will house the main stage, so it provides excellent shelter from the elements if people need to get out of the sun or if there is rain. We also, not included here, but also just to add, we do have an emergency plan in place. If we were to have extreme weather, we can communicate with the facility operators within the Vollmer to open a set of doors and allow the public to seek shelter indoors as well. Signage, there will be signage erected throughout the festival to provide wayfinding for the public. We do add QR codes to all of the signage so that we can direct people to the Strawberry Festival webpage for more information, but also many times people then can visit the webpage that's accessible, and they can utilize other functions maybe on their mobile device to help them find the information they need or get it in a consumable way for themselves. Again, all of the accessible features we'll make sure are on that map. With regards to support persons, patrons with disabilities can access the festival without an additional cost for their caregiver above their particular admission to the festival. Each person can have one support person, and patrons are asked to identify at the gate that they have a support person, and we can assist them on their entry. We're currently working on expediting entry into the festival for those with accessibility needs, and we'll be putting that out through social media and on the website and so on ahead of time so that we can communicate that message well. The next category was service animals. Service animals are permitted at the festival. Visitors that require a support animal while visiting could be asked to provide documentation. And we're asking patrons to ensure that their service animals remain on a leash or in a harness or in a control equipment. Training staff and volunteers. So the majority of the staff that deliver the event are Town of LaSalle staff, and all Town of LaSalle staff take accessible customer service training. But we do have some volunteers like Life After 50 and Bike Windsor Essex who support the strawberry and ice cream tent and the bike valet. And we do, when we work with volunteers, contractors, or vendors, have them acknowledge certain policies, the accessible customer service policy being one of them. We want to provide obviously the best customer service we can to anyone visiting the festival. We make sure that all of our staff are trained and anyone we're working with is aware of the policy as well. And then finally, communication supports, maps, and information, which is a category in the Ontario Guide. So the Strawberry Festival web page is a great resource for all the information about the festival. The website is accessible and is the best resource for anybody who's trying to get information. We will also feature that updated site map that I was speaking of that Owen's currently working with a designer on the site, and then we will have it on the site at the festival. And then we will identify the accessible parking we spoke of, washrooms, seating, and we will make sure at gate 1 and 2 we have a larger version of that map as people are coming in if they're looking for wayfinding or direction or have questions. I'm available for questions. Oh, sorry, Owen, I think you got it.
Sorry, through you, Councillor, just to, at the date of Scott's report regarding transit, there was nothing confirmed with Transit Windsor to have additional shuttles ran throughout the festival, just on the fireworks night. And now we've confirmed that we are running additional shuttles throughout the duration of the festival, working with Transit Windsor. So the pickup locations are to be determined. We'll be working with some town departments to determine the best location, but it's likely to be the event center, so folks on Front Road can access it, and then the Civic Center as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Burns.
I have a question, Chairman, to Scott. Service dogs, will they be muzzled?
We don't have that listed in the policy. They have to be on a
Harness and a leash, but still, generally I'll ask you later, it's not for this report, but I don't mind dogs in the park. But with all the action, normally I know I have clients for many years that they're gentle, but just in case another one goes at one of these dogs or something. I'm wondering I don't know what our policy is, but that's for another time.
Yeah,
Maybe thought, I don't know.
yeah, service animals, and maybe Owen can jump in here as well. Not very many last year. I saw that there was, I think, a few. It's kind of limited, and last year all the owners did have their service animal harnessed and leashed. So, but certainly I recommend it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, could we eliminate the accessible spots in lots 6 and 7 in the gravel area and add 4 extra ones to lot 1 and 4?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for the question. So I think we can leave the ones in 6 and 7 as well because they're already permanently signed. But we'll work with Owen and we can look at what we've done in previous years and adding in lot 1 some additional spots. And 4.
Okay, thank you for the question. I looked at the report. I think everything's very well detailed. So thank you, Scott, Owen, and your team. Everything was. Oh, sorry.
I got a question. The transit, do the people pay for the transit to come back and forth?
No, it would be covered by the town within our Strawberry Festival budget.
Just okay, that's what I wondered. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Scott and Owen, for the great report. Jason, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, one more question. Was there a sensory hour included this year?
Yeah,
On Sunday. Thank you for the question. There is a sensory hour at previous council meeting that was discussed as well. The hour at this time, it's on Sunday, I believe it's between 10 and 11:30 a.m. But I can confirm that.
Thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Jason and Cynthia? Yeah, okay. Number 3, accessibility measures for the 2023 Remembrance Day ceremony, and I'll pass it to Owen, please.
Thank you, Councilor Riccio Spaniolo. So this report, just a verbal update, is in regards to Councilor Burns' question regarding not enough space for veterans last year. So we are going to be making improvements in our plans to ensure that all veterans who are attending, whether it be in a wheelchair or in a cane or have mobility issues or whatnot, they have a space at the front. The area is large enough for them to be with a family member or a support person if required. So we will ensure that we provide some extra space. Additionally, we're going to promote to vendors that there is a warming center inside the LaSalle Civic Center should they get cold. We did have a few people last year that were cold during the festival during the event that we can bring inside this year and help them get back to normal. So if there's any other questions, I'm available to help answer them, but I believe that was to the extent of Mr. Burns' question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Owen. Is there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to receive the report, please? Councilor Burns, and I'll just say Joanna. Thank you. Okay, number 4, National Accessibility Week and Regional Accessibility Flag, and I'll pass it along to Angela, please.
Okay, so Greg, I'll just have you share the photo of that flag if possible. Okay, so last year, the Essex County Accessibility Advisory Committee unveiled and raised this newly designed regional accessibility flag to promote accessibility and inclusion awareness, particularly during the National Accessibility Week, which is usually from the end of May to early June. So this year, that week falls on May 28th to June 3rd. So you'll see this flag here. It contains 7 chevrons, which are representing the 7 local municipalities. And the chevrons are helping to move forward in the right direction a person that's in a wheelchair. So this was a locally designed flag designed by Christine Verbeek, and it was selected by the Essex County Accessibility Advisory Committee as the flag for the region. So the town of LaSalle is in possession of a copy of this flag and is scheduled to raise it here at the Civic Center for the first time this year on Monday, May 29th. So that's a day after the National Accessibility Week starts. Our hope is that the Accessibility Advisory Committee is going to want to get involved in this event. So I have already put in a ticket to our operations department for this flag raising. And typically with flag raising, we will also have our operations department put out a podium with speakers and a microphone so that whatever organization is raising the flag has the opportunity to say something. Because this is being raised by the town itself, we would look to the committee to, again, get involved with the raising of this flag. So I had spoke with Councilor Riccio Spagnuolo that I was going to be bringing this to the committee to get any ideas from you as to what you might like to see in terms of the committee's involvement. So operations will set up a podium. If we want our chair, Councilor Riccio Spagnuolo, to say something, she can. And if any other members of the committee have anything that they would also like to do, we're open to hearing that. So again, this would be Monday, May 29th. Time is not determined yet because we figured we would speak to the committee first. And with that, I'll turn it over to our chair to see if she has anything to add and to open the discussion on this.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Is there any comments or questions on this?
I have a question, Chairperson. I guess perhaps maybe it's to everyone, but the question would be in terms of what are we looking for a spokesperson to speak to? Does it matter? Is that up for discussion? I'm just thinking it'd be nice to potentially hear someone speak, whether it's like a personal story, what accessibility means to them. And even to sort of look outside of the box in terms of the stereotypical accessibility, like a wheelchair, for example, a physical disability, maybe speaking to beyond that, what accessibility means, whether it's inclusive parks and or for children, right? Invisible disabilities and how accessibility matters to those individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all those points. So does anyone have any comments on Joanna's point? I do agree with you, Joanna. I believe that we should look into having somebody with lived experience speak. And I also think that maybe somebody from the committee, if somebody feels comfortable to maybe recite a poem or something to do with accessibility. I think it's a great opportunity for the accessibility committee to be there, to be present if everyone can attend once we determine a time. And then just highlight the importance of accessibility, not only in LaSalle, but also in our community. I do really like this flag. I like that it's inclusive to all the municipalities. So great job to the creator of the flag. Is there any other comments, or is there a preference for time? So then Angela is able to coordinate something with all of us. No comment. Okay.
I
Councilor
have
Byrne.
one question, please.
Sure.
I would like to see a flag at this facility, and I think it's important to have a flag flown for those days at the Vollmer Center. We should really have two. We're attracting all these people, and if there's 20,000 people come, they will see the flag. I'm not sure what the protocol is to take one of those flags down, to put one of these up to feature this at the Vollmer, but I leave that up to Scott and his team if the committee agrees with that. But those are my thoughts, and I think if anyone is going to speak to the matter, I think it should be you. You are the chairman, you are our spokesman. If the committee agrees with both of those, I would be prepared to put a motion to do exactly that forward. Not stopping somebody else.
Thank you.
So through you, Chair, I'll just jump in. So first of all, we can look into obtaining a second flag, and we can also look to having it arranged for it to also be raised at the Vollmer, because I believe our current flag raising policy that we have allows for flags to also be raised at the Vollmer on request. Obviously, this will be something that's happening in-house, so it's the town's initiative, and I can coordinate that with our friends from Culture and Recreation, and then yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Thank you. Cynthia, did you have a question?
No,
Oh,
I
sorry,
agree, unless somebody like has a real life experience about what's going
They can
on, like,
speak as well.
yeah, they should possibly speak also.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay. So Councillor Burns, were you making a motion?
Motion to concur and have you spoke as well as speak for the committee, as well as an accessible person that has a lifetime experience in getting a second flag at the Vollmer, or even taking the flag from here for that weekend and bringing it to the wall, whichever is easiest for our administration.
Do I have a second? Jason, great, thank you. Okay, that motion will pass. And then Angela, am I just asking for a motion to receive the report?
That's great, yeah.
Want to make sure, okay. And then can I get a motion to receive this report? Okay, and I think I might have skipped something, so I apologize. So because I know we're not having another meeting until June. So Angela, do you want us to finalize time and everything now? So then it's confirmed, or are you going to be sending out an email?
So I'll send out an email with respect to the start time. So I'll poll the committee, and I'm also going to speak to some other members of administration that aren't present about what will work for them too, because the plan will be to let communications know that this is going to be happening. It was just booked not that long ago. So I'd like to loop them in so that they can advertise it. So this will be open to the public. So we can expect that other members of the council that are not on this committee might attend, and then of course the committee. So I will circulate an email on that.
Thank you so much. Okay. And then it brings us to E, questions and statements from members of the committee. Nothing? Okay,
I just have-
so,
I just had an update, if I could provide. So yesterday, we had the opportunity to tour the new event center. And during the tour, there were 2 questions brought forward by members of the committee. And I said I would follow up. So the first one was regarding an adult change table in the accessible washroom on the first floor. And so we reached out to the company we work with on that equipment, and they're going to provide us a quote by the end of this week or early next week. So we certainly can provide an update once we know when that will take place. And then the second update was there was a question regarding the signage leading down that hallway. There was a sign holder, but not the insert yet. So I've communicated with Owen, and that sign has already been on order. We're just waiting for the delivery. I think there was a change to the sign. So we're just waiting for it to deliver. Once it's delivered, it will be installed as well.
okay, great. Thank you, Scott, for the follow-ups. And
Madam Chair, you did have Mike Gerard, who's virtual.
Yes, I saw
it.
thank you, I did see it. Mike, you are next.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Sorry, I was having some tech issues earlier. I was trying to unmute myself on the phone, but it just didn't seem to work. So my question was actually back to the Strawberry Festival. We had talked about the parking. I just wanted to know, is the designated number of spots based on the attendance or based on the parking spots available? Because what I noticed last year, and I'm sure you all noticed it, was that people parked wherever they wanted. All the fields were full of cars, everywhere was full of vehicles. So I think proportional parking to attendance and not proportional parking to number of spots total would be a little bit fairer. I don't know if that's the way it's working, but yeah, because I walked by with my wife and I noticed 3 out of the spots were actually occupied by non-sticker, they didn't have the permits in the window. So just a big concern of mine was for that Strawberry Fest, people are going to park all over the grass. So do we open up more, accessible parking?
Thank you for the question.
So thank you for the question. So maybe 2 corresponding answers. So because the hours are varying, on Thursday, say we have 4 hours, and Friday is a 8-hour day, Saturday 12, and Sunday 6. Sort of the attendance numbers can vary depending on the day. Obviously, Saturday is probably the highest of the tech. However, we previously last year, when we had asked for a capacity for the festival, was indicated that from the fire department that because there's just a temporary fencing around, there is no capacity that was given because they could be opened up at any given time. This year, we went back to the fire department and asked, let's assume that it is fixed, and can you just give us what the capacity would be based on the available square footage? So we are getting that back from the fire department. Once we have that, I think we could then use that and use the best practices of accessible spaces based on capacity. And if we need additional spaces, then we can look to do that in lot 1 or 4 based on capacity.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Because I also spoke to Community Living and they had a few issues with accessible vehicles not finding parking spots, and then they just left. So I think if we're gonna, endeavor to put up the flag, I think we should do our best to make sure that that we're, going above and beyond here.
Okay. So the police checking that spot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Councillor, or Madam Chair, I think Owen has one thing to add, if that's okay.
Sorry, to interrupt. Just to Mike's point, we also are working with our police department and bylaw to ensure anyone in an accessible spot has the placard displayed properly. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Owen. Councilor Burns.
Maybe just one follow-up. Maybe a person should be identified if somebody comes and can't find the spot, that we have somewhere we can direct that person who is the support person to try to find a spot, you know, rather than just have them come and leave. I'm sure we can accommodate them somewhere, but you know, it's better to try to serve them, but when they just walk away, then we really don't know, right? As a committee or as a community, but I'm sure you guys can come up with some sort of spot for 4 or 5 cars just in case. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, we will certainly, when we get the feedback from the fire department on the capacity and we figure out where we are response wise, we'll endeavor to make sure we have enough spots. I know last year there was some folks who pulled into the bus loop and dropped off right near the gate, and then they went and found parking afterwards. But we can figure something out on that side. Absolutely.
Just remember, we're only allowing one support person, so you can't drop someone off. If you allow 2 support people, then one support person could wait and the other person could find parking.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it was the support person was just the, I guess, I knew they were talking from a free admission perspective, but yeah, we could certainly look at that as well.
Thank you. Is there any other further questions or comments from the committee?
I have a question. Just wondering if it's possible to, I'm just thinking of community living, for example, and having like a larger vehicle with a number of people attending, to avoid future disappointment and or a situation like what transpired perhaps last year, what Mike was speaking to. Would there be a possibility where someone with a larger group could potentially put in like a reservation that they're going to come in at a certain time and that there's a spot that is reserved for that vehicle specifically? Because I can only imagine, I mean, typically community living and or, you know, any sort of other organization that works with people who have disabilities, typically there's, you know, a couple people that attend and they have a number of patrons with them. So there is a greater disappointment there when it comes to the people who are anticipating attending the event. And then there's a hardship on the support people in order to maintain not only like composure, but then also to find the parking and to keep everybody together while, you know, all of this is happening. So just to be able to say, yeah, you know, we'll make sure that we have a spot available for you close to the entrance if you come at a specific time. Maybe like a designated for specific community groups. I mean, I know that it might be, you know, a hard sell perhaps, but for specific community groups that we know would be coming, or that perhaps they could do like a sign up list where, you know, they sign up and at least they know that they'll have that available.
We can certainly look at it. I think part of the challenge we have is, I guess, identifying which groups then fall into that category and which don't, I guess. And then I guess trying to figure out part of the challenge would be holding spots and how do we stop cars from pulling into them. So logistically, just trying to figure that out. So we can certainly go back. We have a little bit of time for the festival to see what we can do to try to make it as accessible as possible and take those considerations into mind. And I don't know the answer right off the top of my head.
We do have the community living hour designated. There's a special hour for a few other groups to come in when the festival is closed to use the rides and attend the Friday as well. Yeah.
Is that advertised?
It's advertised to those groups. Usually Councillor Desjardins is sort of the spokesperson to make sure that they get the message, and then they come in free of charge and Carnival operates for them.
Yeah, so perhaps maybe, I know Councillor Desjardins has a relationship with Community Living. I have a relationship with Harmony Action as well as Alex, who's on our committee here. And then maybe like John McGivney and those type of organizations as well. Respite, Windsor Family Respite, just so then they're notified and everybody, there's nobody that's excluded from this. So maybe that's something that we can put on the minutes and an action item. And I have no problem reaching out to these organizations as well to make sure everybody's included. Okay. If there's no other questions or comments, then the next meeting is scheduled for June 14th at 3:30. And hopefully we can do it in person. Everybody can be there. Sorry about today. I was called to do another meeting right after this one, so I had to stay at work. But I thank all of you for your time today, and we will see you on June 14th. Have a wonderful day, weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.